Hey, welcome back to Happy Little No Trees. Today we're going to do something a little fun. I've been working on it all weekend while I've been a little downtime, being sick, haven't recorded anything, haven't really got anything done on work. But yeah, have you ever looked at an image and said, what is the contrast curve of that image? And I was like, I don't know. And so there's different ways to go about doing it. Excuse me. So like looking at this image of Squid Game, it's probably not the best test image just because there isn't much in the top end outside of the light coming in from the trees hitting the camera. So you kind of want to make sure you have an image that isn't, but generally speaking, you would go about it. So this is just a straight image. If we jump to the next clip, this little tree here is how you would do it. We're going to turn this off right now. You can see what we've done is we've just taken the saturation out of the image, and then we've taken that main trunk of image and we have subtracted another version of the image. So your net here, if we switch to highlight mode, when we get to this one, is black. So the image is negative. And then we add the image back in, and so we end up with, here is our original image, and we can see that. So all we did was add and subtract the original image from itself in this tree, and then we have it come out. Now I've used a couple other nodes to do some other trial-y things. One just to see what it looked like as a linear image and things like that. But at that point we have a still. So we have this, and if you look at that, this adding and subtraction operation kind of made this image not look right in terms of what's going on. So we have our original, which is the still, and now we have this. And so we can go in here, and this is where I was playing around, is we can kind of draw. You can see, whoa, the image looks reasonable again. So in your curves tool, down here, and we can go, let's see here, bring this up for you guys. Boom. So in your curves tool, what you see we have going on here is we've put all these to 0. So instead of being at 100, we just slammed them down to 0, and we are just quickly try to keep it simple. I usually try to, if I'm doing something like this, keep it around 5 points of contact. Just the lesser, the better. But you can see how shaping it relative to our look. Let's just slide this over a little bit, and we can go turn off, turn on, and play the still this way, play the still on, play the still off. You can see how close we are getting. And one of the ways to do that is to go to checkerboard mode. So now we have, when we turn off that curve, you can see the darker squares of the checkerboard are all from the still that we're trying to match, and then the other ones are from the curve that we're drawing, and it's like that. There we go. And so now we've drawn a curve that is pretty close. You can kind of see maybe some of the details, and we bring out a little bit and get this down. Then you can see if when you're off, it doesn't match, like so. And so that's why on this other side of the tree, I have one blanking DCTL that still and turn it off. You can see as you're drawing it and working the curves, it's actually trying to get close to pure pink. And the closer you get, the better you're looking at finding a match. Now, we drew this curve, and it looks kind of shapely, kind of like that, and we have it set to 0. So then you would copy this node and put these back to 100, and that's the curve from this image applied to any other image that you're playing around with. Just kind of figuring and adding and subtracting and diddling on that to get a contrast curve from one image into a way that you have in a tool that's modifiable. Now, this tree, quite annoying, technical, and I was like, what if we think about it slightly differently. And so what I worked on all weekend was building this guy here. Let's just drag him here. Make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. So this is an adjustment layer. We can hop into it because it's in Fusion. All the work is done in Fusion, and you can go, whoa, what have we here? And you can see it's taking a second and it's going to take a second to figure out what it's doing. It's every time it reloads all the math, all the numbers, and it keeps going back and checking and running through. But it's really a map system that is referencing the image and 10% intervals. And the end result is remapping all of those intervals. You can see in the viewer now that it's loaded. Here is the top 10%, the brightest pixel in the top 10%, the brightest in the top, in the range between 80 to 70, and all the way down the line. And those are all merged together. And you can see we have this gradient that is now being situated. And that's all coming over various other elements. So we have a linear ramp on the bottom. We have a smoothing thing that just kind of fixes some of the issues. And then we have all of our controls up here, such as how tall in our right viewer, that's what it's viewing. So you can see we can change the height, and if you go put it all the way up to 2 and max the height out, all we have is a contrast curve. And let me just dial the smoothing back a little bit. So if you dial the smoothing down to 0, what happens is you have patches at each interval. And so these are representative of the colors. We can change the ramp. So the measurements are being done on a color image. And it's at picking the highest, which usually tends to be red. And this is where I'm wanting to go with a version 5, which is to kind of bring it back to a natural base of finding it. The linear ramp is on the bottom. You can turn that on and off with a 1 and a 0, which is very helpful for the next stage of what this is intended to do. You can see that the image color and the curve color, so the math for the curve is based off the saturation, the math for just seeing the image as it is, kind of what we're doing. This is some of the math going into making that border smooth and things like that. You can see, you kind of just draw, kind of get it to be where it's at. You bring that overlay down, you can see where things kind of peak and hit. And yeah, it's just trying to draw relative curve. And then X scale kind of brings in the right or the left, kind of to sometimes your peaks aren't where they want to be. So this might be different than the original setup one, but I have taken all of this, converted it into a DRFX, which I'm currently on version 4. You can get that off the website. There is a link to the Happy Little Node Trees section of things. And you can get your hands on it and play around with it and give me feedback if you'd like. I've always liked that. But how it works, if we hop out as a DRFX, it would be this one. Just turn it on here. So we're still in Fusion. You can see what I'm doing. It's going to take a second to re-register everything. So what you would normally do is we'll just start from scratch. So effects, bring in a new adjustment layer over your image like so, and then you would bring in your effects under Greg Enright Colorist, contrast viewer, V3, should be on V4 by now. I'm going to check that. I have the 4th version somewhere. No, it's not uploaded in this version. But yeah, you go into effects, it's instantly brought it up, and you can go and look at, all right, so those are my swatches. I'm just going to smear the swatches to the right, pretty much, and draw that kind of soft-edged find where it kind of looks like a normal curve. It's kind of what you're trying to do with how smooth do you want to make it, and smear it. And then you can go with a curve color. You can just drop that to 0 if you want, and have it be a ramp. And then, yeah, what you would do is go after that. You would go with the overlay up to a 2. And now you would go to the color page for this. And the first thing I would do is drop in a window. It's easy just to do a circle. And I can show you on the big screen. Just make sure that you can see that. Window outline on, so now you can see the window. Just crank the aspect to that all the way up. Turn your softness down. And lower that so that it only covers part of that linear ramp. So now we have that right where we want it, and we can go look at our previous timeline where we were working. This is where we have our adjustment layer. And display node graph. This is the one we had our curve. This is the curve that we drew from our previous one. We're just going to put that on this image right here, like so. Close that, and for now, we can go look at that curve. That's the curve we drew over that window. The window dropped off because we just copy pasted it, so we'll just have to put that back in, like so. And now it's going to take a second to redo. It's thinking about that. All right, so now it's thought about that, so got to work on the efficiency of it, but it's not that bad of a problem because you're just doing this one-off. I would say you could probably save a still and re-import that still of the ramp back in to work on. But this is windowed off to just the bottom section, so this curve is only affecting that. And we can see this is the curve we had drawn in our complex tree of matching. And you can see on our waveform, we have one curve swinging to the bottom, and we have one curve flipping up over the top, and that's because of this inversion right here. So if we just crank this all the way over, what's going to happen is it's going to redraw the curve we drew through that brute force method of lots of nodes to the curve that it's calculating. It thinks the images, and you can see the brute force method made a curve that is almost identical to the one that we are looking at. And you can see that we can just tweak some of these things and dial in this curve that we drew to be a slightly, more majestic match to it. Kind of maybe tweak in where some of this hits. But generally speaking, it just gives a quick way to visually break down what that ramp ultimately looks like. And so you can take, instead of just taking, normally you could do that. The way you would do it is if you were here on, say, an image. Nope, not that one. Like if you were looking at like a LUT per se, you would do the similar thing of having the LUT. And now because I have so many instances of it up and running, it's trying to calculating it. It's getting all sad and running out of time. But anyways, that's that tool in a nutshell, is it draws the characteristic curve. There's more information on the website about it. And yeah, you can get it now, play around with it, and then once you have it, the email system at the website should automatically let you know when a new version is available for download and improvements. The future additions to version 5 is to figure out a way to show each channel RGB and green individually. But anyways, yeah, something I'm working on. Don't know why. Just felt like it. But that's a happy little note tree for you. So until next time, have a nice day, and we'll see you over on the other side of making beautiful images with trees.